The 18th of May 2025, I have to get that right. Someone commented there before that I'm using the Chinese calendar, and I checked it and I have the right date. I don't know what they're talking about. Those kind of comments are meaningless unless you have a comment that can be understood. I'll delete it a lot quicker than I will from the trolls on here and the Sinn Féiners. I don't delete them at all, but I'll delete ones that don't make sense. I think that everyone understands. We have to have it basically sensible. Ryan and RTE. Now, I wouldn't listen to RTE in a fit, but I got a call there from a person who heard them this morning, and there's two matters came on. Remember, RTE is totally state financed. They get a bailout of 350 million a year to keep them going, to spread government propaganda. And the way they work is they're told by government, you give plenty of news about this, that, and the other, degrade Donald Trump and all of this, and make your communist society push mass migration and all that. So they're on this morning to say that with the withdrawal of the migrant facility in Coolock, I think it is, North County Dublin, the paint factory, that the government has capitulated to far-right pressure. So straight away, you see in my previous video there about relativism, to us, to them, we're far right, whereas the concept of far right is not really defined at all. I've always said the political spectrum is a circle, like a clock. It's not a straight bar, and it's a clock. But anyway, that's another day's work. But they're on about this, so they capitulate. So they are now pushing this. They have decided that mass migration is the way to go, and they will not answer how many should we bring in here. So that tells you our political system, and it also tells you about the voting patterns of people. I mean, the fact is, when the trolls here say people vote for this, that is true. That is true, and this is the big question. How far will the voter vote? And it seems that if you give them a nice package, a nice daintied up thing, and use a nice few big words, that they'll go for it. They'll go for it. We'll give you children free ice cream on the hottest day of the year or something, but we'll take your house. That does appear to be that. Well, there is a film called Idiocracy, which explains that. And there's no doubt if you educate people and you take away their ability to read, write, and particularly to do mathematics of any basic sort, you will have idiots. I mean, how can they become anything? They are faced with the problem of getting the books out themselves at 17 years of age and studying when there's many other interesting and exciting things to be done, or putting up with what they're hearing. Now, in our day, it was the church installed into us our standards. But they gave us an education too. It gave us a good education, which in latter years enabled me to be more analytical and to figure out what's what. Because they educate us, the nuns and the Christian brothers and all that. They may have been good and bad, and I got beaten at school and seen people beaten badly, and I one time got weak with the beating. But yet I learned good mathematics. The master that did it was good at the mathematics. So, I'm not saying that that's right now, don't bother about that, but that'll tell you. Now, the other thing then is that Eamon Ryan was on, and he says that renewable energy is cheaper. Now, that is a full-blooded lie. A full-blooded lie. Unbelievable. This is cheaper. I mean, nobody asks him that. So you see the connection between RTE and Eamon Ryan. He's probably hoping he'll get some type of a job in Brussels without having to be elected, because nobody will elect him. So his big craving now is some big job somewhere. That's what he's looking for. And of course, he's making these sound bites. Well, the World Economic Forum doesn't have Klaus Schwab anymore. So I don't know how he's going to get on there. But he's making this that wind energy is cheaper and renewable energy is cheaper when the bills are going through the roof, and that is palpably proven to be false. And this is a very strange thing. I mean, it's not relativism to say 1 and 3 is 17, or 1 and 3 is 12. I mean, it is not 12, no matter what you do with it. So I'm just taking a look here on the internet. Our world in data. Why did renewables become so cheap so fast? In most places, power from renewables is now cheaper than fossil fuels. Originally published in December 2020, partially updated in 2025 in April, for the world to transition to low carbon electricity. When in Ireland and Britain, I think, but definitely in Ireland, the price of wind and solar energy is directly linked to the price of fossil fuel. So you see how that is such a palpable lie, and yet they publish it here on our world data. And I just see here 80%, 1% of renewables cheaper energy than fossil fuels. Forbes, 81% of renewables cheaper than fossil fuels. A direct lie. 26th of September 2024, the world added some 473 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity last year, according to the new report from the International Energy Agency, and 4/5 of it produces power. This is a lie. This is a lie. If the International Energy Agency said that, that's a lie. But there are several videos, and I'll probably link them under here, of people who have analysed this, one in Britain, which shows that when you count it all, it's more expensive than anything. And it is not actually power at all. That, as I say, they're net consumers of electricity. Wouldn't you think somebody would take me on that? Now here we have Neocon Unidates, renewables cheaper form of power by the United Nations. The United Nations, right? Renewables, that's Mary Robinson's crowd. Renewables are the cheapest form of power today, and confirms in a new report by the International Renewable Energy Agency. Ask my brother, am I a liar? These are the crowd that are benefiting from it, and they're quoted as fact. Here are renewables were the world's cheapest energy source in 2020 something there. I think it's 22. The cost of renewable technologies like wind and solar is falling significantly, according to the new report. This is fueling the rise of renewables as the world's cheapest source of energy. The cost of large-scale solar projects has plummeted 85%. Cheap Chinese stuff, I suppose. So, are they saying to build it? Certainly not to build it. I don't know about solar, but wind is certainly very expensive to build. It's as much as anyone else. And so they go on there about this. This is a lie. They get the fossil fuel price. How could it be cheaper? Well, then they may be confusing there, or conflating, as some people use, the capital cost. But the capital cost of wind energy is the same. It's more, actually, than building a fossil fuel plant. And there's the conversation. Renewables are cheaper than ever, yet fossil fuel use is growing. So why is that? If renewables are cheaper, the fact is that the renewable energy is useless, whereas fossil fuel energy is absolutely the most useful. So that's a lie. And this goes on and on. Then here's one from the World Economic Forum. It says renewable energy prices have fallen far more quickly than the industry anticipated, says a new report. And that's a lie. That's a lie. And this is what's going on. Just have to accept all cookies. They are fast becoming cheaper than fossil fuel. That's a lie. They're directly linked to the fossil fuel price, and they're not reducing the use of fossil fuel at all. A rapid transition to emissions-free green energy could save many trillions of dollars in energy costs and help combat climate change. Do you see the lie that is? Germany is crippled. Its industry's gone. They deindustrialized the United States. Now Germany wants to start a war, and there's no industry to make the weapons. Britain had to bail out the government, the Starmer government, the last Scunthorpe Steelworks, when it was about to close up for good, because of this diabolical lie. That WEF report still goes on to say that the global energy sector has an impressive record of scaling up renewables like wind and solar, but it is not good at predicting the future price changes of the clean energy these renewables produce, according to a new report. Researchers at the University of Oxford, some crowd, Institute of New Economic Thinking. Now, Dieter Helm is in that university, and he says that's untrue. Suggest Early pricing prediction models have consistently underestimated both how far the cost of renewable sources might fall and have consistently underestimated. They told us it was free. They didn't underestimate. They told us it was free, whereas we have the highest electricity prices in the world. And the price of electricity, according to one source I was checking out, in Germany is 4 times that of the United States. So they're trying to push this. So you see how the complete and utter lie is sold and how it's all part of the media. Now, I hear that Green Court Renewables, which is supposed to be the forerunner with the energy hub in Ireland, has sold 5 or 6 of its wind farms to a Norwegian crowd that produce oil. So what's happening is some of these oil companies have an ethical policy and they like to diversify into something to show they're doing a bit for the environment, even though they're selling the oil and making the money from oil. So there's always someone to buy up these ailing wind farms. And it's usually all is oil, coal and gas. And it's oil, coal and gas that keeps the lights on. That's proved in Spain recently. You can't use this stuff in the same way as they're predicting. It's one of the most renewable energy is terribly expensive because you only get about 21% of its output, potential output, in a year. So you see that now. You can look at your own bill, and this is never debated. The main point of my channel is to bring it home to you folks that there's no debate allowed, totally no debate. And Trump brought that debate in political terms and he won. And he shook the daylights out of them. They're gone out of America nearly altogether now. And nobody ever called them to order and said, oh, hold on, you're destroying the environment. They don't do it. Now we see in Britain that the Conservative Party, the Tory Party, which should have brought this to light, decided to go woke. And they're out now in third place, and Farage's Reform UK is moving in. And so and that's frightened Starmer. Some says he cried. He cried when he lost the seat and lost the election, really done bad in the election, that he couldn't take it. So there's a whole elite there. How they actually work and communicate is another day's work, but they do exist and they are there.
If the lights go out, who will be responsible? And the rush to net zero goes far beyond re-engineering the electricity grid to reach into every aspect of our lives. So it's time to take a long, hard look at the task ahead and to ask, what is the real cost of net zero?
Now that is a Sky News report. That's a Sky News report, and I'll link it underneath. And I might link a few more, and we'll do a few more of these because the internet is destroying them because it's able to get out to people the lie, the complete lie. Now, just I'm still going. Wait a second. Now, this article here by Seth Newgate, all of funny names. If renewables are so cheap, why are our bills so expensive? And they go on then to look into this. Why are they so expensive? And I have explained this. I'm way ahead of the crowd with this. So The Economist does a bit of an article as well here on it, The Economist, and makes the point that they don't take into account when. In other words, you can have plenty of wind energy at night. It's no good. We had a terrible storm here last 24th of January, blew the roofs of houses and everything else. Wasn't worth a tuppeny damn. None of it could be collected, hardly any, and it was in the middle of the night when it wasn't needed, and they had to keep the fossil fuel plant going because there was a possibility of the wind shutting down. Now I'll link some other good videos that I find them from time to time on this, but I have shown with the wind energy in Ireland what happens. They get the loan, they build the wind farm, getting through the planning and all, a private company. They're the like the regulators, like the John Wayne or the Clint Eastwood. They get through all this stuff. They then build it, they put it running. Immediately now they flog it on because it can't make money because it's only given a 20%, 15, 16% output. They sell it on to a company which won't ask questions. Usually a utility like ESB, like electricity, like water, like toll roads, something that needs a license from the government. And when the license has been issued, the government gives them a ring and says, by the way, I want you to buy that wind farm there. And they then buy them and then they run them for a while and they bail out the wind farm every every couple of years. In the case of Derry Bryan, ESB give it 10.1 million. I see there Minty Cat, I'm going to look at it again. It's got something like 13 million last year of what appears to be some kind of a bailout, but none of them can pay their capital costs. That's the key. So the scheme is you build it, the capital cost is never paid. The company that buys it puts it on the ESB bill, and that way they forgive it. So you have a situation where the wind farm's up there, it's supposed to be worth 50 million, but it'll soon be shut down when it's worth nothing. What they do then is the company that's selling electricity, whatever the name of that company is, will then come along and they will forgive that debt. And in order to make up what they've paid out, they have to increase the price of their own electricity bill, and their electricity bill rises and rises. And so you have such massive electricity bills. As I said, you have 4 times the price of electricity in Germany as you have in the United States. It's something like 3 times here or something anyway. And Britain and everywhere, paying through the nose. And yet the media, the BBC, RTE, they can come along and say it's cheaper. And Eamon Ryan, a scatterhead, I call him cabbage head, he is, it's cheaper. And that's untrue, and nobody can challenge him. They have surrounded the wagons on all of this. That's why my channel is so useful. And this means, how could you start a business anywhere? It'll get to the stage where you can't have a coffee shop because the price of electricity will be so dear that people will find it cheaper to go in and buy the coffee off you and then produce it at home. Does that make sense? So, lies, lies, lies. All we can do is expose those lies. I challenge Eamon Ryan to debate it, but he can come along and say that with a straight face and not bothering him. He's probably looking for a job somewhere. But isn't it unbelievable stuff? We'll see you back, folks. Goodbye. Thank you.